Most experts agree that one of the best instructional strategies we can use with young children is modeling. Modeling is a strategy in which adults set examples for children, in which adults act properly and say the appropriate things so that children can see and hear how things should be done. On the surface, this strategy may seem to be a simple one, and it is to a degree. The problem comes in that children watch and listen to the adults in their lives all of the time. That means that children learn from what we do and say, even when we don't intend to teach them anything. Many parents have learned this lesson when they accidentally swear in front of their young child, and that child adds that inappropriate word to his or her vocabulary. Early literacy skills can effectively use this strategy. We need to model for children the importance of the written word. Children do as we do, not as we say. So we need to make sure that we are doing the right things, and most importantly, that they see us doing these right things. Ideally, books and other printed materials should be present everywhere in a child's life. Books and signs and newspapers and inspirational sayings should surround them almost from birth. Children should be immersed in the written word so they can learn, by our example, that words are powerful, that they carry meaning, and by unlocking that meaning, children can use that power to achieve greatness. Since children learn so much by the examples we set, child care experts agree that reading time should be special. Specific time should be set aside to devote to reading and early literacy skills on a daily basis if possible. From a very early age, literary activities should become part of every child's daily routine, though they should never be routine or boring. It should also not be used as a punishment. If we, as the adult in their lives, value reading and literature, then hopefully children will learn to value them as well. In addition to setting aside special time for reading, a special reading area should be created using both visual and kinesthetic means if space allows. Colorful posters with a special rug or an area with pillows, blankets, or beanbag chairs could accomplish this. Of course, the most important aspect of the space isn't what occupies it, it's how the space is treated. Any space can be special if it is treated as such. Thankfully, most towns these days have such a special place for written work. Their local libraries. Most libraries have designated children's areas. Some libraries also have comfortable chairs and other reading areas as well. Plus, libraries are filled with books as well as many other types of written materials. Planning a special visit to your local library can be a fantastic way to expose children to the wonderful world of the written word. Having a special location for books is the first step in the process. Children must also learn how to properly handle written materials themselves. Modeling the correct way to handle books and other print materials from a very early age works well with this early literacy skill, and several instructional strategies covering the 3 learning modalities can be applied. Child care professionals should begin by handling written materials with respect, by carefully turning the pages, as well as removing and replacing the books with care. These actions can be reinforced with verbal descriptions as they are performed. After instruction, children can physically participate in the process by choosing and retrieving books from the shelves and assisting with the turning of the pages as a story is being read. Another important aspect to reading is how we adults get information from books and other written materials. Most children's books are filled with beautiful illustrations for children to enjoy. These pictures, however, do not contain the content of the book. As we all know, the meaning in written materials is contained in the words. Experts say that this skill can also be best taught through modeling. When reading to a child, follow along with your finger. Visually show them that it is those little symbols that contain the story. As we show children how we read, they also gain knowledge about print conventions, that books are read from front to back, from the top of each page to the bottom, from the left of each line to the right. Children who have a clear grasp on these early literacy skills, who understand how a book actually works, will become more successful when they begin studying convention literacy skills. One thing should be noted. As child care professionals teach and model the importance of written materials, they need to be careful not to make them so precious that children feel that books can't be touched or enjoyed. It is true that books are precious. They can be expensive, and in today's economy, replacing books that have been damaged may be too costly. However, books are precious and valuable because we interact with them, because of the information they contain. If children learn that books are too delicate to be handled and touched, then they will have a hard time learning how to retrieve that information. When organizing a reading area, keep in mind that it should not just be a special place. It also needs to be friendly and accessible. Arrange written materials so that children are able to interact with them. To minimize damage, make sure that books constructed of thick cardboard or cloth are placed near the bottom of the shelves. This will make the heartier books available for the younger children to touch and experience. 3D books, books containing textural experiences, and interactive books also make wonderful additions to any library. Books with these types of visual and kinesthetic elements help enrich the library experience for many children. Once your reading area is organized, encourage the children to interact with the books and make that experience a positive one. Allow them to explore and experience the world of written materials on their own. The appearance of the reading area will stimulate the visual learners, and physically interacting with the space will encourage the kinesthetic learners. By combining these two approaches, two of the basic learning modalities are being addressed. For many, many years, child care professionals have advocated reading aloud to children. Story time can be a special time for any child, as the storyteller weaves a tale filled with fun, excitement, love, adventure, and so on. Children can become emotionally invested in the tale, and their creativity can be stimulated as the story comes to life in their imagination. Though reading aloud can be a very valuable instructional tool in any child care worker's tool belt, it is a passive approach that focuses on one learning modality, the auditory one. Experts now believe that a more active approach, an approach called the shared reading approach, may create a more valuable learning experience for children. In fact, some experts believe that shared reading activities may be the most important learning strategy we can use to encourage early literacy skills. Shared reading takes more time and involves a multi-layered approach to reading aloud to children. The good news is that shared reading practices only take more time and commitment to be successful. But those are really the only additional requirements. No special tools are needed or extra expenses are incurred. One of the first ways to involve children in the process of reading is to allow them to choose the book being read. This will encourage them to listen more intently to the story because they have made a choice. They had a say in the story being read to them. Once the shared reading process begins, the readers should show the book and follow along with their finger as they read. This will give the children an action to observe while the story is being read. As previously discussed, this action also communicates where the information in a book is contained and how to get information out of a book. As the story is being told, the reader should pause frequently to ask questions regarding the elements of the story that have been revealed so far. The reader should also offer feedback, encouragement, or gentle corrections to the children's responses. This method will stimulate the children's phonological short-term memory. Phonological short-term memory refers to a child's ability to remember spoken information for short periods of time. Phonological short-term memory is an important literacy skill that, according to the National Early Literacy Panel, shows a moderate correlation or connection to success in the conventional literacy skills of reading comprehension and spelling once children begin school. It is also important to reread books regularly, even though this may seem counterintuitive to keeping children actively involved in the reading process. Favorite stories, even though the children know exactly what will happen, actually encourage activity. Children develop an emotional attachment to the story and its characters, and they love to hear those stories over and over again. This strategy also helps children feel more confident when answering basic recall questions, and this newfound confidence will help strengthen a child's relationship with reading and early literacy skills. Dialogic reading practices are the next step in the process. Dialogic reading is a best practice approach to reading that expands on the questioning routine of shared reading by adding open-ended questions into the mix, requiring children to not only recall what they have heard, but to also predict what might happen or what could happen if something were changed. Many experts now believe that these dialogic reading activities have a strong correlation or relationship to later success in reading comprehension and other language skills. Dialogic reading practices create an extremely collaborative, high active situation in which children may experience reading. Being a passive listener doesn't work. These practices involve both visual and auditory learning modalities, and if the reader asks the children to act out possible story variations, the approach can involve the kinesthetic modality as well.